So, Suzanne, we're going to chat about and look at how non biological parents can secure parental responsibility in our jurisdiction, which is the jurisdiction of England and Wales, and what the key things are to consider.
Okay, so the starting point is to look at where we are, and we are here because of the Human Fertilisation and Embryology Act 2008, which allowed non biological same sex parents to obtain parental responsibility.
Okay? How would you define parental responsibility?
Parental responsibility is all the legal rights and duties that go with being a parent, and this can impact on education, religion, um, medical, and it's being able to consent to operations, obtain information through the schools.
Okay. And so, in same sex relationships, a couple are thinking of having children. What do they need to consider before they make that decision? And does it make a difference that they do it in the more formal sense through a licensed clinic or in an informal sense through home insemination?
Okay, that's the key basically. There is a difference and a legal difference as to whether they conceive at a licensed clinic or through home insemination, and that very much depends on whether they are married or in a civil partnership or not. So if we look at a licensed clinic first, if a if a parent is married or in a civil partnership, then they can gain parental responsibility by being a legal parent, being put on the birth certificate, and obtaining parental responsibility. If they are not married or in a civil partnership, that is the same process, but it just means they have additional forms to complete and they need to both consent to that second parent being on the birth certificate. And the position is that the birth mother will always have parental responsibility.
Okay.
You're then left in the other situation of looking at home insemination. And that is different. And that's where issues can arise. And that's where I normally see clients when things have happened and they find themselves at the end of the process and they can't go on the birth certificate. They don't have PR. And the difference is if they are married or in a civil partnership at the time of conception, and it's at the time of conception and not the time of birth, then they can be registered as a legal parent, named on the birth certificate, and they gain parental
And
responsibility.
this is through a licensed clinic,
This is home
home
insemination.
insemination.
So that's home insemination. If they are not married or in a civil partnership, then they cannot be a legal parent if they do home insemination.
Yeah.
So they would not be on the birth certificate
Mhm.
and they would not have parental responsibility.
Okay.
There's also a difference in relation to the standing of the donor. So if it's a donor at a licensed clinic, whether it's a known donor or not, then that donor has no legal standing as far as the child is concerned. It is different if it's home insemination. That known donor may have legal standing as far as the child is concerned. They may have rights, but also they may have responsibilities like maintenance. So it's very important that before conception, people are having the conversation. Parents are having that conversation as to what their ultimate goal is, which will normally be to be a legal parent and be on the birth certificate and have parental responsibility.
So, insemination through a clinic, you can regulate who is going to have parental responsibility. In home insemination, it's not always a foregone conclusion that you can regulate who's going to have parental responsibility because
Yes.
the donor, I think you said, Suzanne, can apply to the court to have that status conferred upon them.
Yes, and I think the key is not only having the conversation between the parents to be as to what they want to achieve, but it's also fully understanding matters as far as the donor is concerned, and everybody having that conversation of what the agreement should be, what the intentions are, and think about having a donor agreement, which is something we're going to discuss in another conversation. But
Yeah.
it's important that people go into this with their eyes wide open, because if not, you end up in a situation where you've got a wonderful baby and the intended parent has no legal standing.
Mm.
And what you then have to do is start going back and looking at how that can be achieved.
Mhm. And how can it be achieved?
Well,
Can
there's
it be rectified? Can something be done about that?
ultimately, you can get parental responsibility. What cannot be changed unless it's adoption is that the birth certificate can't be changed.
Yeah.
So you can gain parental responsibility, for example, by a step parent parental responsibility agreement. So if the parents subsequently marry or enter into a civil partnership, then you can enter into an agreement with the mother or everybody with parental responsibility, which is a relatively straightforward process. Otherwise, you may have to make an application to the court for a parental responsibility order, or in cases there may be a need for applying for a child arrangement order, a live with order that would give PR. The ultimate goal, if parental responsibility is not just what they want to achieve, would be step parent adoption. But that's a whole nother conversation and that's a very detailed process to go through. So I think the key is to avoid any issues and any expensive court cases and any additional work when you should be enjoying your time with the baby
Mm.
is to think ahead.
Yeah. Planning in action.
Yes,
Yeah. Thanks, Suzanne.
thank you.